Last day of our Congress, and I'm happy to see that you guys are mostly still all here with us. We apologize for our delays. There were some technical difficulties on the end of the European Parliament, so we appreciate your understanding. But we're happy that we're gonna finally start and get into it. So for the beginning, we're gonna invite Leo to come up.
Yeah, our first lecturer will be Leo van Doesburg from Netherlands. He is part of the European Christian political movement, and topic of his lecture is challenges and opportunities to promote Christian democratic values in a secular political environment. And our moderator Philip will first read us a bio.
Leo van Doesburg is Director for European Affairs for the European Christian Political Movement. He graduated Commercial Economics and International Management Studies from ICTUS Higher Business Studies in Rotterdam, Faculty Economy and Management, and has worked in the business sector for several years before becoming involved in the political field. In 2011, he was awarded the Conscience and Freedom Award for diligently promoting religious freedoms in Europe. In 2013, he received an award in the recognition for the fight against Roma discrimination in East Europe by the International Romanian Union. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It's an honor and a pleasure to meet you here, and it's great that it's able to meet again here in the European Parliament. It's one of the first, I think, bigger meetings that has been held here after the Corona crisis. I'm working for the European Christian Political Movement. Very short, the ECPM was founded in 2005. As we witnessed a bigger influence of secularism in Europe, we decided to form a network of Christian politicians coming from different denominations. We believe that the best way to be effective is to cooperate with as many like-minded organizations as possible. And we were recognized in 2010 as a European political party. So we are one of the European political parties. We have about 40 members of parliament from 20 different European countries and 4 members of European Parliament in the European Parliament. As Director of European Affairs, I'm working to extend the network of politicians and to function as Director of Policy Affairs. I'm advising members of Parliament and members of European Parliament and members of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe related to the spearhead that the ECPM is standing for, like human dignity, priority for family, freedom of religion or belief, fight against modern slavery, and so on. I saw that I got the main question like challenges and opportunities to promote Christian democratic values in a secular political environment. When I'm traveling, I'm sometimes asked like, should be a politician, it should be a Christian in politics. I mean, politics is dirty, compromises and so on. But if you look to the Bible, there is a lot of examples about politicians. So my job description, what I believe is a good job description for politicians should be, the politician should have the pragmatic skills of Joseph, the passion of Moses, the delegation skills of Jethro, the strategic skills of Joshua, the faith of David, the wisdom of Solomon, the integrity of Daniel, diplomatic skills of Esther, the project management skills of Nehemiah, and so on. If all those people were not in the Bible, what would, on their position, what would have happened to the people of Israel? So it's very important, first of all, that we enter into politics. And I would really urge that if you feel a calling to be in politics, really try to do this, because we need you in politics. In my presentation, I would like to focus on a few challenges that we see in politics, and especially as a Christian in politics. First, what I see is that there is a secular dominance and pressure on the society, which includes politics as well. As a Christian, I believe that the core of my belief is to protect human dignity. I believe that we are all created in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, it's our task to protect life from conception to natural death. Human dignity is, first of all, a responsibility. There is the word respond in it. Respond towards God and towards the others. So therefore, human dignity is about coming up for the weak in the society, for the fragile in the society, for the voiceless in the society. And that makes us different. So for us, freedom has a responsibility. It's freedom to love God, to love the other. However, the seculars, they have another definition of freedom. They do not say the freedom to, as we say as Christians, love God and love the other, but the freedom from everything that limits the individual autonomy. So for there, the human being is in the core, while we say the responsibility is in the core. And there you see the clash, what is happening. Then human dignity has been redefined as being human, or putting him or herself as a central. And then we see, and then new rights has been created. So as we see in the Christian politics that human dignity is the basis of human rights, like in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, dignity has been mentioned 4 or 5 times as the basis of human rights, then you see in the current society that human dignity is below the human rights. So you create new rights and then you talk about dignity. So for example, they talk in the euthanasia about the right to die, and then they are talking about the dignity to die. And then they are talking about the right to abortion, and then they say about the dignity of women to choose or to take care about her own body and so on. So I see that this is also a big clash, if we see in European politics, about the secular dominance and how we see the Christian politics. And that has consequences on certain areas. For example, we see threats of the freedom of education. Many international legal documents, like the European Convention on Human Rights, the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, the UN Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and several reports in the Council of Europe are defending the right of parents to ensure that education and teaching are in conformity with their own religious and philosophical convictions. It's good to know that the freedom of parents to educate their children is seen as a fundamental right. Secondly, I think that in education, the European Union only has a supporting competence. This means that the EU only has a mandate to support, coordinate, or supplement actions of the member states. However, the EU does not have the competence to change legislations of the member states or to pressure them to change it. The EU, however, established the education and training working groups 2020 for the exchange of the best practices among member states, or you all know about the Erasmus Plus program. But we see more and more that there are questions in different countries, also in the Netherlands, about the existence of Christian schools in a secular neutral society. They say schools should be neutral and open for everyone. Religion should be private matter. They say there is a separation between church and state. However, first of all, it is not true that a secular society is the same as a neutral society. And about the separation of church and state, I believe it's true that there is a separation of church and state. State should not interfere in church, and church should not interfere in state. But that is not the same as a separation between faith and politics. Every person has a personal worldview, wherever religion or belief a person has. Based on this worldview, a person is developing his own societal view, his own belief and values. Christians should have the right to organize themselves and to have their own school based on their worldviews. If this is not possible, then Christians are discriminated in the society. That is why we always have to stand up for the right to parents to educate their children based on their religion beliefs, which is also a fundamental right. Another big pressure we see is about, there is a big pressure on member states to legalize abortion or liberalize the legislation to increase the number of weeks of pregnancy where abortion is allowed. They say every woman should be able to choose if they want to keep the child or not. If you are agreeing if you are not agreeing about this, you are right away seen as anti-women rights, anti-choice, or even anti-gender. Debates on this topic is very complicated, as I believe we should protect the life from conception. I believe that there is hardly a free choice if the whole society says that you have to abort a child, if there is pressure on society, on media, which is they say that abortion is the normal choice. I don't believe that the so-called pro-choice is really pro-choice if they are only focusing on one solution, if they say, about unwanted pregnant women. I believe, and the debates on this are very complicated. As I mentioned before, if you have another view on abortion, you are right away framed anti-choice, anti-rights, and now lately even anti-gender. Recently, 2 hearings took place in the European Parliament. One hearing was about the foreign interference on the financing of anti-choice organizations in Europe, and another one was about countering anti-gender movement focused on sexual and reproductive health and rights. I see here Ivan, who is the assistant of Margarita de la Pisa, member of the European Parliament, who is really fighting on protecting the right of life. So the event, all these events has as a meaning were one-sided event. There was no one invited from the pro-life view to take the floor as a speaker. There were only pro-abortion activists just explaining, like just trying to frame everyone who wants to protect life. So the biggest issue is also the framing that we have on this issue. But then if we're thinking about this, what is the best way, how we can deal with all those attacks? What kind of position should we take? And that's what I would like to say, some kind of, some kind of tips, some kind of issues from the practice that I see myself, what I learned. First of all, listen and reframe. We start to tend to tell our own stories. We try to sell our point of view, but maybe it's good also to listen to the other side to see what is really the biggest, what is there, why do they have these views? And sometimes you see that the core has even a kind of a value that you can relate it on. For example, if we talk about euthanasia, really in discussions, people have the problem about this unbearable suffering. And we share this problem of this unbearable suffering. But we want to focus on the improvement of palliative care and so on. So it's like go to the basics, learn from each other and see what is actually their core value, and is there anything that we can relate it to deframe ourselves in order to see. The second is listen to each other, listen as well. A lot of time it's like about asking questions. If you see Jesus in the Bible, he is always asking questions to the Samaritan woman and so on. And we did once, there is a group of young people here called the Cornerstone. They met sometimes Lefteris Kalotarakis, who is there, who is leading that small group in the European, in Brussels. We had a discussion, we had an investigation how to communicate like Jesus, because there's no one in the Bible who communicates so much as Jesus, who had so many debates. What can we learn from him? And in this case, I think what we learned generally is that he was asking questions. He really was interested in the other person. And in the questions, it's possible to get a kind of an understanding also from them towards you. Second is be creative, take initiative and do not be reactive. Instead of waiting until, for example, waiting, for example, about euthanasia, we developed with members of parliament, there was developed a motion on palliative care. Don't wait until the last moment, but think beforehand and think about pro-creative actions. Seize the opportunities. Sometimes the society has certainly discussions, or there is certainly motions or whatever is going on. Try to use them, try to see like this is possible, that's what we can do something about it. Make coalitions. So sometimes there are issues that you even can collaborate with organizations or people that you don't expect. For example, on the fight against modern slavery, on pornography, there are also many leftists, many feminists who are against this. So it's also good to look like what kind of organization. Don't try to stay always in your own bubble, but try to look on topics how to get much support. Do not be too afraid to do something, and do not allow yourself to get discouraged if nothing has changed. Sometimes, a lot of time, if I got initiatives, a lot of people are saying, don't do that because it can work out the other way and so on. It's good to be aware, but at the other hand, don't be always discouraged. Sometimes it's better just to try and to get attention to a certain topic than not to do it at all. Be to the point and short. That's a bit difficult for me sometimes. If you want to draw your attention, don't come with 20 arguments, just have 3 arguments, 3 main arguments, and build that off. Someone will not be convinced by a number of arguments and so on. And pray for wisdom. I'm very thinking about James 1 verse 5 till 8, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like the wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is a double-minded man and unstable in all what he does. It gives you wisdom. God asked to be involved in your work. It said not maybe you will get wisdom, but you will get wisdom if you believe in it and you pray. Finally, I would like to want to make attention that you can become friends of ECPM. That's 10 euros per year, and you will be involved in, you get all the information that we want. I understood that the ECP youth yesterday, unfortunately, those circumstances could not come, but you can access their website, and they have a great program which is called Christian Changemakers. And this Christian Changemakers is actually focused as a year-long program to develop and equip a new generation of Christian politicians and leaders. Huh? Yeah, so in that case, there will be selected a number of people, and they will get a year's training program with high-marked speakers and politicians. I would underline how important it is to speak as young Christians in today's world. The advice contained in Jeremiah says, "But the Lord said to me, do not say, I am only a youth, for to all to whom I sent you, you shall go. And whatever I command you, you shall speak." I hope and pray that this will become reality in your life as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for interesting lecture, and we would like to give you a certificate of appreciation. Thank you again. That was our last lecture for today's this year's forum, but we will continue with our panel. So I would like to invite our first panelist, Alexander Gudarzi from France. He is part of the SOS Christians of the East, and topic of his lecture is Warrior of Peace. Please join us.
Alexander Gudarzi has been traveling the Middle East and Central Asia countries for 20 years. He lived from 2015 to 2020 in Syria as head of mission of SOS Christians, the Orient, SOS Eastern Christians. He is now Deputy Director of Operations, Development Manager at SOS Christians. He wrote a book, Guerrier de la Paix, The Peace Warrior, which releases 24th April 2021, which has been translated in English, and it's called Kidnapped in Iraq. Release date May 24th, 2022. Thank you. Mr. Gudarzi.
Thank you very much. So, yes, the testimony I made with the book writing the Le Guerrier de la Paix, Warrior of Peace, it was a way for me after to be kidnapped in Iraq to turn a page and to write another one. It was a kind of therapy and also a testimony to the truth, because the problem in Syria has been ignored, denied. What the Christians were facing for a decade of war, and I was almost the only guy who was living with them. I saw the consequences of the jihadism. I saw the lies on our media, on our politics, on our humanitarian, and even sometimes with some of our priests who were denying the fact that the Christians are sincerely, cruelly suffering from Islamism, with the support of the Western countries, with the support of the Islamist countries as well. But because we wanted to defeat Bashar al-Assad, we couldn't hear that the Christians themselves were telling, okay, he's a dictator. Let's use the real word, okay? But he's the one who can protect us from the people who cut the head, and we want to survive. We just want to live. So who are you to impose us your vision of the life, and you say that you're against colonization? Just let us live and stop to be so condescending to think instead of us what is good for us. But we could not hear this voice because we have new religion. This is the ideology. We want the democracy everywhere, and we don't care about the consequences. And with some kind of people, some kind of cultures, we can bring the democracy to Algeria in the 60s and 70s. It brought the Muslim Brotherhood to the power. This is what happened with Morsi before Al-Sisi took the power in Egypt. This is what happened anytime when you have a majority of Sunni Muslim people. So the Christian as a minority as just telling, okay, this is not the best choice, but just let us leave, in fact. So it was after what happened in Iraq for me, kidnapped for 66 days. I use this event in my life as a pretext to tell about the Syrian. I put myself beside this. I'm not making 330 pages to make you cry. Oh, it was hard, my God. No. Okay, I use this like in a movie, start by action, but after I give you, because when I'm inside this kind of jail, let us call it a jail, that I'm thinking there is no future. The present is like a purgatory, because one day is an eternity. And I just remember what I was living when I was in Syria. I was in Aleppo when they liberated the city, but in Europe they were saying that Aleppo fall down because the government successed, and it was a lie. People were so happy. People were singing, dancing. They were happy. I was with them. I saw this. So this is a testimony for so if you look to the map, I will not stay a lot on the map, but this is the situation in red. It was the position of the Syrian army, that are in the west, of the country. In yellow, this is the Kurds forces who took advantage of the weakness of the Syrian government, because they were in trouble with the jihadists, and they took advantage of this position, of what was happening, to create the Kurdistan they dreamed to make since a century, the Kurdistan that we promised them at the time of Sykes-Picot agreement. and promise that have never been held. The green is the position of Jabhat al-Nusra, so Al-Qaeda jihadists, and many other groups that are affiliated to Al-Qaeda, and the black is Daesh. The blue is the position of the Israeli occupation in the Golan since 67. So this is the map. It was in 2015 when you arrive in this area. You are between the Daesh and Al Qaeda all the time when you want to go to help some Christians, some villages, for example. If you see, I don't know how I cannot show on the map, but if you see Homs city and Aleppo, I was often going over there, and it's like 10 hours by bus or 7 by car, and you are like 500 meters or 1 kilometer on your right. On your right, you have Daesh, and same distance you have Al Qaeda on your left. So 6-7 hours in a car, and you know that sometimes they join their forces to block the road, to catch the people. They use fake military clauses to make like checkpoints, and then it's finished for you. So 6 hours, it lets you the time to make a rosary on the road, to just pray to not be catched by those guys. And unfortunately, this is what happened to me 5 years later, but not by the same, but not exactly the same. And the other kind of testimony I make in this book is the testimony to the engaged youth. We need, yes, this is the aim, the goal of the gathering, and we need engaged people. So what I understood that in France, when there is some initiative, it's directly attacked by the politics. They pretend that they will target the Muslim association, or they let you hear that it's to take care about the extremism. But in fact, every time, if you see, this is many Catholic associations that are closed, and they are doing what? They are helping homeless, teaching the evangel to some of the young. I grew up in the suburb, and Jesus didn't exist at all. There is neighborhoods, there's a lot of Muslim. I grew up with them, but also I grew up in neighborhood of the suburb. It's 100% French. And if you look to the difference that you can see, that the Muslims, they still have, this vertical way of life. They believe in God, have parents, they are not separated. They respect their ancestors. They respect the life in a kind of way. Yes, they respect it. The French who are poor, we forget it. We forget them, and I mean, they have like just one parent. They don't know their father. If they have a mother, she has a boyfriend, and she is beaten by this guy. They grew up alone, and they don't know nothing about love. But and in the same time, that this is empty place. It's like a hole of misery, of culture. There is nothing really. It's 40, 50 years of socialism, of communism. There is not God at all. So who knocked to your door to bring you back to what's happening after the life? The Muslims do it. The Christians are not here. The church is not here. The government is not here. Oh yeah, it's good. You can see nuns dancing in the street, making flash mob. It's cool. It's in. No, not for tough guys who are in the suburb. I'm sorry. We need Franciscan of the Bronx, not dancer of discotheque to let it. Yeah, it's nice. I understand, and it's good for some to be attracted by that. But you have to speak the same language of people who are clearly dying of lack of love, and Islam makes the job. And they offer you an adventure, the Khalifa. They offer you their crusades. They offer you some things that make you tough in your face, and they are coherent. You can't say, and this is not Islam, stop to, no, I don't care of this. There is many interpretation of the religion, and the violent one is one of this interpretation. There is no magister, there is no church in Islam, so anyone can give his speech, and it's not more Islam or less. This is one of Islam. So we offer you the possibility to make the jihad in the Middle East when you are lost in the suburb. You really think that you are going to make this good thing. You are fighting a dictator, and you will have virgin in the paradise, and you will have money on this life. You are fighting for the freedom. This is how they see the things. But the Christian, I mean, in what I see, what do you offer? What we offer to each other? And when we think about the poor people, we speak always about the Muslim. But don't worry for them. But it's good to bring them to Jesus. But if the dialogue is just to comfort them in the lie, because Islam is a lie, I'm sorry. It's to comfort them in what they believe in. I'm sorry, why we exist. We need to light in the darkness, not to. There is no compromise to make with this kind of attitude. And I mean that it's important to raise the youth, the Christian youth, for something very, very big. So this is what I found when I saw this association. It was incredible for me to see that those guys, they've never been in Middle East. Me, I was going. I was cruelly and anti-American. I was a teenager. I was sorry, but I was happy when I saw the 11th September. I was a fan of Osama bin Laden. He was my hero. I wanted to make the jihad at this time because I was looking for my identity, because I'm not Franco-Polish or French-Italian. I'm French-Iranian. It's antagonist. I mean, according to the culture, to the politics side in the world. Now we know that Iran is not the friend of the Al-Qaeda, but at this time when it was starting, by looking the USA with the Twin Towers just falling down, it was like anti-imperialism fight, like David against Goliath, like the little who is suffering from USA and spreading the democracy everywhere with their bombs and the decadence. I don't know if we say this in English, but it was something that for me it was noble. But because I was angry, I was broken, I was young, and I have not this education. And there is a lot like that. I have many guys, many friends that are in jails, or they were in jail, or they died. And unfortunately, the Muslim cared about them, and they offered them in their way a chance to renew their life. And me, I had the chance to meet some Franciscan, and they came and they are in the charismatic, comment on dit? They are charismatic anyway. And after it really changed my life. It was very important for me to meet them, and this is how things have changed. But I was still traveling a lot in the Middle East. I was escaping from the judgment, from the jail, from many things. And at this time, I was looking for something strong. And I was really thinking about joining some fighters in Afghanistan. And so that is why I said that it's very important to take risk for God, and to not just claim that we are Christian between Christian. And when we do, just think about your people also. It's not racism or preference of identities, and it's just this is your brother. Just to think about yours before of others also. I mean, in order charity, it's nice to think about your mother before to think about the neighbor. If she's sick, you will care about her maybe more than the neighbor. This is normal. I mean, if you have to choose to make right now, you have to do it. And this is what in fact, in the kind of way this association made. It's different because the guys who went to SOS Chrétien d'Orient, they have not my background. This is my personal story, but Christian guys, Christian youth is deeply divided. We are just 3-5% of Christian in France, and we are always fighting between the traditional Christian or the charismatic Christian. We are so proud to speak about our communities with the Protestant, with the Muslim, but if we see a traditional one, we put him the excommunication. This is incredible. I don't understand this. And there are people that just let the face because of that. And this association, by riding them from their canapé, from their TV, there is a fight to make over there, a kind of crusade of love. Our brother are dying. Just make something. And they come, and because we all put the T-shirt SOS Chrétien d'Orient, and we are very far from our home, no electricity, sometimes no difficulties to have food. We face to the testimony of people who really suffered in their blood. So we forget the social differences that we have. We forget the difference of sensibility of Christianity where we are from. You know, it's a kind of military service that make you forget everything you are, the difference that you divide the people, and we are united for the same goal. So this is a kind of challenge that our association is making for those French people who are divided, who are forgotten, who feel that sometimes they are alone. It united them over there, and when they come back to France, they continue, in fact, to be united and to challenge, to try to solve the different problems that we have in France. So this is a nice job that they make. And also the book, so I cannot speak in details of all of this, and even in the book, but it's also a testimony of faith, because I think that I speak for myself. I have no any lesson to give to no one according to the way we believe and how we live our faith. But yes, I've chosen to be Christian when I was 9 years old. I've been baptized. My father and my mother, one Muslim, one Catholic. He will decide when he will be bigger. Big mistake, in fact. You have not to. But my father didn't want me to be Muslim, and my mother, she didn't care about my Christian education so much at the beginning. But after this choice has been made, when I was 20, I told you, the Franciscan. But I still was like Christian of identity. 10 years later, when I was 30, I decided to go to the convent because I was always fighting, always having problems, always going to the police station, this kind of thing. So I was really crying. I was saying, but how can I say I'm Christian, in fact? This is not normal. But thanks God, I was so bad to realize that I was far from here, because sometimes you think you are good for yourself, but it's good to have a good judgment about yourself, but sometimes it's really good to be so bad to understand that you need to really come back to God really concretely. Anyway, when I was in Iraq, it was like a purgatory. At the beginning, I was just praying, just God, please. I was thinking about him in the car when they took us with their guns, with everything. I was telling, please, I don't want them to be Daesh. I know that if it's Daesh, they will kill us every day. I will finish with orange. The same things that I was laughing before when I was younger. The same things that I was not proud of, but it was, it was terrible. And I was really praying, God, look, and I didn't have made confession. So I was telling myself, if I die, I will go to hell. I mean, it is the judgment, the mercy is finished. So, but I was trying to negotiate. Look, I came here for the Christians. So if they kill me, it's because I came here to help the Christians. So maybe you can make me a martyr. So I really was negotiating. But I thought that, okay, he's here with me. He's taking my hand, and let's see what will happen, in fact. But yes, it was. He was silent many times, but he allows this. I think that he allows this. I'm not telling that he wanted that, but he allows this to make us like a kind of Ignatian strong retreat. You know, like to really go deeply inside you and to work on many things that were coming up. It was incredible to pray together, to pray really together, because we were 3 French, 1 Iraqi. And the guys, the men who are militia, who are tough guys, and they liberated Mosul. So this is the guys, they made the same things than Daesh, but for Sunni people, they killed the grandmother, grandfather, kids. You could see in the Tigris River, babies that they throw up in the river. They are cruel also. But they were looking at us praying, and you know, at the end, they were bringing us every time from place to place, putting the Quran to the doors, to night, days, every time. Sometimes they make like kind of simulation of execution for us. They come to us and they speak about my baby, because he was 6 months when I've been kidnapped, and of course I was thinking of him. And I think they knew this, and they told me, "How is your baby?" Oh, I cannot know, but they were playing on that. They let us hear the screaming of people. They were torturing just the floor above us. And each time they were moving us from a place to another one, they were let us believing that we are free. I say it's okay, now it's finished, you are free. And in fact, it just changed you to a more dark and more dirty place than the previous one. And the time they came and they said, "I have a good news for you. From now, just count less than 1 week and you will be with your family." We didn't want to believe them, because they just lied to us for all the time we were their prisoners. And they say, "No, that's true. You have to know something, that there is a big epidemic, a pandemic, and it's killing many people. And for this reason, I don't know." And in fact, he was speaking about the coronavirus, and we didn't even hear about this when we were in the jail. And this virus, this virus killed us, because they cannot control the virus. And at this time, we are at the beginning of the pandemic, and we are close to Iran. And in Iran, a lot of people died because of that. So they were scared that this virus kill us, and they've been accused from the French authority with who they were in negotiation. Of course, they were scared to be accused from killing us, because they cannot prove after if it was the virus. So this is and they cannot get any money from us. They cannot do nothing, and they will just face more problems than anything. So it was a real miracle for us to be liberated by this pandemic. And anyway, after when we were praying, we promised God that we will share what happened to us in the jail, in Iraq for all this time, if we can be free. So this is what I did, in fact, in this book. I'm sorry if it's not so clear when it's the first time, in fact, I do this in English. So, but yes, this is what I say in the book. So, as Philippe said, it's translated in English and it's published in US in 24th of March. May, sorry, and in Hungarian also, same thing, approximately same date. So, okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. That was a truly powerful story. Appreciate it. And we would like to give you a certificate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next panelist is Benedicta Collin from Federation of Catholic Family Associations in Europe, and topic of her lecture is Responsibility, Solidarity and Unity Within the Family, the Heart of Society. Benedicta, please join us.
Benedicta Collin is a policy manager at the Federation of the Catholic Family Association in Europe, an umbrella organization of family associations from all over Europe, with 32 member organizations from 18 European countries. Ms. Collins, thank you for coming.
Good morning, everyone. It's very difficult to come after Alexandre, but I will try to say some interesting elements. And maybe as a direct answer to what have been said, I will speak about the family. And it's really important when you speak about the family, not to speak about a model, for example, a perfect model of Virgin Mary, Saint Joseph, and Jesus, because not all families are like that. There are many struggles in many families, difficulties. So we always speak about the example of the family. So each family is a different example for society. So I'm not doing only the promotion of a perfect family, but what is everyday family. So I will speak about the question, the overall of family, and Leo will be very happy he's not here, but I have 3 arguments. So it's good, I'm respecting the strict and straight to the point. The idea that I work for family associations, so what do we do? Family associations on the ground, we are a network of solidarity between families to support each other, for example, classes for couples, marriage, education of children, anything. But as well as family associations, we bring all those voices of families and we bring them to the public space not to speak, not in a very, it's not a fight that we are doing. We're not fighting about, for example, what is a family, rather we always speak about what we do and what we are as a family, the function of the family that has to be recalled each time because it's most often forgotten. So my 3 points will be mainly to say that family is the place where people first learn to care for each other in a relation of mutual reciprocity, and then to become active citizens of their communities. And all the element of a family, all this intergenerational solidarity, to which I will come back about that later on, this ecosystem that is functioning, that's the first unit of society. And then you can extend it to overall all communities. And that's the first example of how a functioning community has to be. You take everything that is happening in small scale within the family, and you can extend that to anything within society. And the family is a good, very well working model, not model, example. I as well have to remind myself not to use that word, example for the society overall. So first point is what kind of responsibilities we have within the family. And in my work, my federation, we always speak about a joyful responsibility, because as Leo said, there is no right to have a child, there is no right to be a parent. It's not this idea of freedom as individual freedom. It's a responsibility. It's a gift from God if you're Christian, but even if you're not Christian, having a family is a responsibility. But of course, it's not such burden, even though it's not always easy responsibility. It's a joyful responsibility, because when you care for each other, you don't do it because of a contract that you signed with your baby on I will take care for you, and then in 50 years, you will take care for me, but take care of me. But it's a responsibility that is based on love. And those relations are based on love. So there is this idea of joyful responsibility. Difficult, but at the same time is one of the most meaningful that we have in our lives. So parents are responsible, of course, for the education and the upbringing of their children, not only when it comes to access to school, but their civic education to be, for Christian families, for example, to be good Christians within our communities, to be good citizens, good workers. So that's all of that. You learned it first within the family. We have as well the spiritual education for example, Christian families. That is crucial. And you learn to be Christian. We all know that first in the family. It's difficult to be a Christian if you have counter testimony even within your family. So family is the first place where people are educated to become adults afterwards. So there is this responsibility that sometimes can feel a bit heavy on parents' shoulders, but that's their responsibility. But of course, because it's based on love, there is something that transcends the difficulties within the family. So that's that's all what is called unpaid care work. So, or maybe sometimes in economic terms, it's called auto-production of and consumptions of families. For example, your mom or your dad prepare a meal, you don't have to pay for it like in a restaurant. So it's a contribution, if you want, to the GDP, but it's really completely undermined because it's not only what family produce, but as I was mentioning, family produces, hopefully, when it's functioning, good people for society that will contribute to society. So family has this big responsibility to be the starting point of a fulfilled and responsible then adult life. And it's made thanks to relations of love, so a joyful responsibility. So that's my first point. So responsibility within the family, there's joyful responsibility. And then this responsibility, I was mentioning a lot the work of parents towards children, but it's intergenerational, and that's very important to mention, that you care for your children will care for you or the grandparents, or even the grandparents will take care of children. We always see it in a very vertical manner, like the grandparents are the one you take care of and the parents are taking care of the children, but everyone is taking care of each other. So in a way, family is a very virtuous circle, functioning ecosystem, and that's an example that is very interesting for then, if you can adapt that to any other type within society. Family already within itself has so many good examples of how to function in different types of reciprocity. And there is this idea that this solidarity that we have, it's not something that you do to feel better. There's this idea that it's a free gift. Of course, you don't, as I was mentioning, you don't care of a child because you know that you will have a good return on investment. No parent will be aware of that because it's too far away, so you can't even think about that yet. So there is this idea of the intergenerational solidarity within a family. It's a free gift that you give for your children, for your parents, for your grandparents. And in that sense, what is the example of family that is crucial for our societies nowadays that we often forget is family is one of the places where we think long-term. Because you care for your children because on the long term, even for example, pension systems, you have workers that will then pay for the pensions of the next generation. We're thinking about 50 years. Nowadays, you have a company, they think about 50 years, of course, but there is this urgent need to have short-term benefits as well. You will care for the creation and creation because you care for the next generations. You will build roads, buildings, democratic systems, because you think about next generation. So the family is the first example of a very good enterprise that thinks long-term. Why? Because they don't care about short-term benefits, because you don't have many short-term benefits when you give yourself freely to your family, but you think about the long-term common good, because what you do, for example, if you do anything in society for your children, you know that you will do it for any other child overall. You're a physician, you save lives, you know that you're doing that because maybe you will have to, it will be like saving your child's life or anything. So there's this idea of you contribute to the common good. So all of that, I'm presenting again, not what is a perfect family, but what the family does, which is, I just want to maybe, I don't know if you see it, but the idea that family is not just something that stays within the family, but the impacts of the family within our communities is huge and tremendous on all the community. And that's because of the unity of the family. So that's my third point. The unity of the family. Why unity? So unity, as I was mentioning, with this intergenerational solidarity. So you create a unity. And I have to mention, of course, unity is not a fact. It's not something you get with the marriage or when you start to have children. It's a call, it's a path. We all know that we sometimes have struggles, divisions, fights within the family. I remember when I was younger in high school, I will go to my friend's house and the parents will be fighting at the dinner and they will be feeling so bad because I was here to watch. And I will tell them, I'm so happy to see that because it's happening so often in my family. I'm happy that I'm not the only one in my family where my parents are fighting. So in a way, unity within the family, it seems like a very theoretical concept, but it's true even though it's a call. it doesn't have to be right away a reality. Unity as well because of unit, because family is the first unit of society. And that's a very key point, not because it's beautiful, it's the heart of society. That's the title of my lecture. It's very cheesy in a way, but if it's the first unit, then everything that happens within the family will have an impact afterwards. And that's what we call in French the butterfly effect. I'm sorry, I don't know in English. Basically, all the impacts will increase the more broader you go. So of course, if you come from, and we see it that we don't see the unity of the family. It's not something that is visible because it's expected in a way and it appears to be natural, even though I just said that it was very difficult. But you see it when there is no unity within the family. You see how important it is when it's absent. You see the impact of people that suffered from abuse, violence, parents that got divorced, any kind of suffering on this or dysfunctioning of the family will have tremendous impacts afterwards. So there's this idea of unity of the family is what holds all our communities, and it's completely invisible because in a way to be natural, but you can see how important it is when it's absent and lacking. So just to all those, so I presented you all big ideas, and you might be wonder, so what does it have to do with the public place? It's maybe theoretical, philosophical, I'm speaking about life in general. But the thing is, as I just mentioned, unity of the family, this solidarity, everything that is so expected and appeared as natural, we don't mention it often. We forget to mention it all the time because of course everyone say, yeah, I'm so grateful for my parents, but you don't want to say that within a company, you don't want to appear as intruding with your private life in the public space or in your workplace. But now we live in societies nowadays that completely forgot the importance of the family. So public policies, they speak about workers, individuals, women, girls, men, or they don't mention families, they mention households, or when you lose this bigger picture, then the policies they completely overlook. And what happened with that is that you don't have any support for families. You overlook that, for example, a woman is a worker, is as well a mother. She can't do both 100% without any flexible arrangements. Because if you think it's natural and expected for her to be the double shift after work, if you don't take that into consideration, then you will, I'm over time, sorry. Then you will completely have societies that don't support families in their role that is so crucial. And then we have societies where it's way more difficult. If you want to start a family, it's difficult, you struggle. If you want to have another child, it's difficult, you struggle. You want to continue to work or not after having a child, it's more difficult. So in our job, recalling everything I just told you, to recall to all policymakers that family is so natural, but it's so important to take that into consideration. And it's a call as well to you in any field you will do, even if it's not politics, if it's in a company, anything, never forget to have this family perspective on things, to have a more comprehensive perspective on things. You will become a CEO in any company. Don't forget that people have family at home, and you need to take that into consideration and to make sure that as well support them if there are some dysfunctions in their families, because that impacts people tremendously. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benedicte, for an interesting lecture. And last but not least, here with us is Don Mihovil Kurkut. He is Salesian from Croatia, and the topic of his lecture is Embedded in Christ. Don Mihovil, please join us.
Father Mihovil Kurkut is a Salesian priest and director of a publishing house. He is active in pastoral and youth work. He strong believes that personal example is the way to change society. An excellent priest and an awesome friend, and we are blessed to have him as our spiritual guide for our conference. Thank you, Father.
Thank you. Hello. I'm sorry for my English. I'm not a good speaker of English. I'm watching a lot of new movies, and this is my school. Our meeting, our conference, our engagement show a lot of creativity and the good willing that we are the most see here with our presence here. In our lives, there is many plans, worries, expectation. Every man and woman have a desire of a pleasure, of happiness, of deep joy. And this is the God gift. This is the God willing, the pleasure, the happiness and the joy. The God put this in our hearts. God put this in our nature. When God talks about eternal life, He is talking about this reality. Because His desire is your life and your deep joy. This is the willing of God. That is what God wants for your life. What He wants in our life, He wants to be with you. He wants to be with us. Because of that, He created this world. Because of that, He created us. Because of that, He became a man. Because of that, He do everything. He wants not only be near to us, He wants to be part of us, of our living, of our fighting, of our working. This is God's desire. God wants that for our people, for us. I said yesterday when we talk in restaurant that one Italian philosopher, he said that he is atheist, that I don't believe in this. He said that every miracle that God done in the gospel, in the Bible, it's not to prove His power. It's because the God has, He can't see your illness, He can't see your weakness, He can't see your trouble. He have compassion of you, and He had to help you, to give your life again. Because of that, every miracle in the gospel is a proof of His love. And this is the first that we Catholic have to know. The God love us, and everything that He do is a proof of this love for us. That great desire that he have in His life. We can't approach this reality alone, without others and without God. And that is two ways to be the God people, to love God with all our hearts, and to love our brothers and sisters, that brother and sister that are close to me, not so far. One Jewish philosopher, Martin Buber, said, all actual life is encounter. I think in this way. The only reality is a meeting. Everything else is virtual, is not important. But if we are looking for our life, we are fighting all days for not important things. Our troubles, our expectations, our hopes, for not important things. God wants to be with you. And if I'm looking for my meetings, when I meet someone, I'm here with my body, but my spirit is far, far away. I'm listening someone, but I'm not concentrating to his words. I'm not looking his eyes. I'm not looking his face, but I'm thinking the response, what I have to say to him, or I'm thinking to my troubles, what I will do later. And a unique reality, unique actual life is a meeting. And if we understand this, we can understand all theology, and we can understand all Christian reality that we have to put in this world. Because Jesus said, we are salt of this world, we are light of the world. And this is what God wants to us. We are in a Paschal time, and I am thinking always in this reality that wasn't so great pleasure for apostles, for the church, first church. After Good Friday, after resurrection, after appearance of Jesus, they are close the doors. They are in fear. They are in the thoughts about their failure. We talked yesterday about Peter, the fisherman. He's in trouble. He believes in his wounds. He believes in his fears. He believes in his sin. He believes in his failure. And never mind that Jesus is alive. Maybe the life of Jesus, his resurrection, is a problem for Peter. Maybe it was better that he was in grave. But he is alive, and that is a trouble. Resurrection for the church is a trouble. We don't know what to do with this. Jesus' life, okay? And my times, my troubles, my plans, my expectation, our future, Jesus' life. What to do with this? When Jesus passed through the closed door, the first thing that he said to church is, peace with you. Why peace? There is no war. Peace with you. Because he knows your hearts. He knows your fears. He knows your thoughts. And he can give you a peace. And then, in the Gospel according to John, he gives them the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, the gift of all gifts. The gifts, the defender, who give us the power to be what we are. Because we think that we have to do alone, that we have to be good to be with God. No, we don't have to be good. Pope Francis said, the Eucharist isn't the food for the good people, but it's food for the weak people. And we are weak people. Why I'm going to Eucharisty? Because I'm hungry. Because I'm thirsty. Because I can't alone. And I think that our great sin isn't since, so you know what since, okay. Our great sin that we don't believe in his promise. We don't believe in his love. But God willing is to be with us. Because of that, all things He's done. Because of that, He created church, Holy Church. Because we had this, He is present now with us. The Gospel said, where 2 or 3 are in reunion in my name, I am with there. All our talks, all our plans, here is the reality of the Holy Spirit. We go after our reunion, we go out in this world to testify His life. We can't do anything without Him. Luke said, we are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty. Our choices, our view, our desires have a place in His heart, had a place in His life. What we have to do, what we can do, be embedded in Christ, who is my King, to whom I belong. It's a fight, but we are part of the army of victory, man. He win. He always win. And His life, eternal life, participate to our life if we want. God don't look the perfect man's. There is no perfect family. There are no perfect youth. There's not perfect priests or bishops or popes. There's no. There's a real people loved by God. Hungry people, wounded people, people in fear, but know that we are not alone. We are with Him and He is with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Don Michael, for your inspirational speech, and your English is very good. And we would like to give you a certificate. I would like to ask all of our lecturers today to come join us for our forum. Thank you.
Thank you once again to all our speakers, really individually. We really appreciate it, and very, very nice topics that we all talked about today. And as yesterday, we are going to be able to ask them questions individually. So I hope you guys were listening and taking notes. We would ask if there's any questions for Mr. Leo, because he has to catch a flight very soon. So we're going to start with questions directly to him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, for giving us really good practical advices. I'm here. You can see me? Yeah, okay, no problem. Thank you very much. I'm Tomislav from Zagreb. I really was inspired with your story, with practical examples, and I'm really happy that you mentioned also some Old Testament examples. This is something that I encounter also on my workplace, and it's really a hot topic, let's say, how to promote and evangelize while you are being professional. And really, your practical advices are really cool. And something that I encountered is importance of humility. And I haven't seen on your slides, maybe you have encountered as well. But if you have, can you share some inspiring story maybe with us, some example, or tell something more about this thing?
Thank you very much. First, about the Old Testament examples. I mean, I hear a lot that young people are saying like, well, politics is far away. But politics, first of all, means city. Polites is city in Greek. Probably my Greek colleague will know it better. So actually, what is your role first? How do you want to serve? Yesterday, Bertjan Ruijsen, I understood, was talking about humility as serving. How do you want to serve in your society? So actually, if you want to become in politics, I think first of all, what is your vision in your own society, within your city, in your own society, in your country? So politics is not far away, politics is close to everyone. So that's why I want to encourage everyone to be involved in politics, and that's why I wanted to mention these examples. About your question about humility, I said yes. When I was, for example, in discussion with someone who I know who is an LGBT activist, he's supporting same-sex marriages and so on. It's really on an other view as that I have. And he, at a certain moment, I had a discussion. So I asked him, like, how do you see that then? Why is so important for you to legalize same-sex marriages? Why is so important? And then we came into the discussion, and finally he said to me, now I understand. I mean, you have another definition of marriage as that I have. I mean, you have another feeling. You see marriage different as that I do. So you got a kind of an understanding. It will not say that everyone will agree with you or change their mind, but I think it is important to reach out. An extra example, I would like to mention one of our members of European Parliament, Branislav Skripek. He was attacked in the plenary all the time with a person with the blue card. So with the blue card, you can intervene, to interrupt. At a certain moment, he said to this member of European Parliament, can we have a coffee? And he says, okay, well, why? Do we talk about politics? I said, no, we are not talking about politics, but I want to know you. And so they went to a coffee, and this tension went away. They would not agree. We must not see the other one as an enemy. We have to reach out. Jesus was reaching out to the other, and we must not be afraid of the other. So if this is your answer about humility, I think we have to see the other not definitely as an enemy. We have to sometimes reaching out to them. The second is, who do we want to influence? A lot of time you see that the conservative Christian activists are fighting against the secular activists and throwing mud to each other, while the whole middle area, like people who are not involved in the topic or not so much, we want to get them. And what kind of image do we give to them? If we are all the time using like a strong language or something, I mean, sometimes it is necessary to do, but also we have to think that also in the respect of human dignity, you have to see even our opponent as a person who also deserves dignity. I hope that this answered the question.
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, I wanted to listen a little bit more about this thing because it's an important topic, so thank you.
Another question for Mr. Leo.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Tefil from Zagreb, Croatia, and thank you for a lecture, first of all. And it was very interesting, especially the parts on abortion and euthanasia. And I would like to ask your point of view on changing the perspective on suffering, because suffering can also have some, if it's with purpose, it can have a positive side of it. So if you can say something about that.
The point of suffering, I mean, related to abortion or to euthanasia or?
Euthanasia.
Yeah, suffering is, of course, a very difficult issue. I mean, people can unbearable suffering, psychological unbearable suffering. But I believe that the last stages of a person's life is very important, most important aspect of someone's life. And we should do everything to increase the palliative care. One of our members of European Parliament and also FAFSE, I want to say that FAFSE is doing also a great work also together. And but about suffering, that's why in the Council of Europe, one of our members of the European Parliament launched a motion for resolution on the right to palliative care. And I remember that there was a discussion in the Social Committee where the rapporteur explained a lot about how it is important for the suffering in the last stages of life to be with the person and to do everything to improve that. And that's why we talk about right to palliative care. And then one member from Luxembourg raised her hand and she said, well, now I understand. We should focus on the palliative care instead of focusing on the euthanasia in the last stages. And she got an applause. And that was a moment that you see that that can get through. That's why I said, like, we can have a discussion about against euthanasia. We should talk about the importance. The important problem is this unbearable suffering. And that is where we have to focus on. And that's where we have to find solutions. If we talk about abortion, you mentioned abortion, a lot of time I got this question like, well, if you legalize abortion, you get kind of illegal abortion. But there is not any woman who likes to do an abortion. So then you have to wonder yourself, why does a woman make an abortion even illegally? What is behind and how can we solve that? How can we solve the suffering or why? What is it? Is it economic pressure? Is it a pressure? Is there another situation? How can we help to these women to not do an abortion? And this topic about pressure on of abortion, about this behind it's not discussed. They think like, okay, if people want to do an illegal abortion, you do an abortion and then the problem is solved. No. Problem is not solved. Every abortion is a very big impact of the woman who did an abortion. So in that respect, you look to the core problems of every topic, and from that aspect, you develop your opinion further into the discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions for Mr. Leo? Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Duisburg, for your interesting presentation and your responses. I would just like to continue on the topic of abortion because right now in Croatia, we have a very severe discussion about doctors who refuse to do the abortions, and they're actually the right of conscience to refuse to do so. And can you maybe just elaborate a bit more on the legal background that supports this right of conscience in the medical profession? Thank you.
In the Council of Europe, there was a discussion about the consensus objections of medical practices on abortion. The report was actually meant to limit the freedom of conscience. However, this report has so much been amended that it actually supports the freedom of conscience for abortion. You can find it as the McCafferty report, and it gives actually a kind of a basis on the freedom of conscience. Freedom of conscience is a fundamental right. The right to abortion does not exist. Abortion is permitted in certain circumstances, but it's not the right for everyone to have an abortion. In the Netherlands, in some cases, drugs are allowed, but that does not mean that everyone has the right to drugs. There is a big difference between abortion as being allowed, as abortion as a right. They tried to change it in order to add it in the so-called sexual and reproductive health and rights, in order to create a kind of a framework where other issues are mentioned as well, like obliged sterilization and so on, in order to create a kind of a legal framework. That is why it's annoying that if we are talking about the discussions about the Supreme Court in the US, because in the US they are calling this a right to abortion, but that does not mean that it is a right to abortion. So if you look to a legal matter, freedom of conscience is a fundamental right, abortion is not a right. So how can you then limit the freedom of conscience for doctors if the right to abortion actually is not being a right, and the right to freedom of conscience is a fundamental right?
Hello, I'm Joanne. Thank you very much for your interventions, all of you. But I was wondering, because I guess that as politician, you have to face in daily life a lot of pressure, influences, and challenges, and you're constantly confronted to not openness, but people with other ideas. Of course, you owe them respect, and I was wondering how to really keep your integrity and to keep your Christian value in the long term, to act, like with your deep soul, and to keep really Jesus as your inspiration. So if you can give me methods or examples in your daily life. Thank you.
I think it is very important. Prayer is important, and what I say about wisdom in the discussions. For I have discussions, or if I'm thinking, I'm praying based on what is written in the letter of James 1, to give you wisdom, because in a lot of items you cannot know beforehand how things goes. If you have, I do agree. I mean, as I said, it is good to always act and see the other person as a person with dignity as well, even if they have other opinions. But that does not mean that you have to give in or agree with their opinions. You have your own set of values. You just try to understand what the other actually is meaning, why he or she has this opinion, and you try to find answer or ask with questions. On the long term, how can you be as integral? I think it is very important that you are actively involved in church, that you meet fellow believers as well, and that you are talking with each other as well, because life can be complicated and topics can become complicated. But always to be able to learn and to be open-minded, but also to stable what are your core values that you are standing for, and not to and to stand for that as well. But standing up for values does not mean that you have the other treated in the wrong way. What I find very difficult is that nowadays people are framing you. So as I told, you are seen as anti-rights, anti-this and so on. And sometimes that is the most difficult issues. On political fields, you see that all kinds of strategies are made. Jesus said to us to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. And which is a bit a strange thing, because a serpent normally is seen as an evil. Jesus did not say to be bad as a snake. He said to be wise as them. There is a parable in the Bible about a manager that before he was fired, he made all kinds of arrangements. And then the master in this parable gave a kind of a compliment. Not that what he did was good, but he said the children of darkness are smarter than the children of light. We have also to think about ourselves. What can we learn? Do we have to be always saying what we are doing or saying the things? How are we dealing with the issues? But we have also to be innocent as doves. So we have to be integer and we have to be ethical, and all the time we have to bear this in mind. So in all the time you are thinking like, what kind of role does a person take? But again, I'm not talking about evil as wise, I say smart as wise, because you see with there are all kind of ways how they draw attention to certain topics, and maybe we should do that as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, but I can imagine that it's also a bit hard to deal with all these stereotypes and framing as you were talking about. So people already have an image, and they already have your thoughts about you, and as if you were not really free to
If I want to react on it, it was very interesting. There was a report was also sent around in the parliament called Tip of the Iceberg, which was a kind of a report that was attacking the pro-life and so on. And one of my friends actually, who is working in the parliament, who actually has a kind of different opinion about abortion and so on. And she sent to me, look what I received. And I said, okay, what's your opinion? I said, I think this is nonsense. You are working on against the prostitution and so on in this way. So I don't believe what is in it. So it's also, you cannot avoid that, but you have to be able to show like who you are. I mean, like Jesus never defended himself, actually, but he was trying to, we have to be salt and light. We have to see where we are standing for. And if people want to ask me questions, they are allowed to ask me questions. There were some newspapers before the European elections. They were asking me, want to have an interview? I said, send the questions and I'm gladly able to answer them. But yeah, it is a difficult thing because people can attack me on my visions, on my views and so on. But to attack you on the person, it's not a democratic or a way of discussion, and that is difficult, yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
It's a very short question. Back to euthanasia and suffering. How do we approach or convince people who accuse Christians and especially Catholics of being far too obsessed with suffering and the redemptive nature of suffering? Is it a case of underlining human dignity as the common denominator, or how do we approach that? Because in just casual experience, people always say that we're far too obsessed with suffering.
So why too obsessed with suffering? That's an interesting respect. But in this case, it is good to ask them why they think that the Catholics are then far obsessed with suffering and why it is this problem. And then you go to the core problem, which is the unbearable suffering in euthanasia. And then to say we are not obsessed with the suffering, but we want to lower the suffering as we would like to help and support the people in the stages of life, which is important. So again, you go, I would suggest to go with questions instead of right away going into the defense. I would say like, okay, why do you think that? And how do you think that? And can you give me examples or something like this? And then to try to answer them. I mean, there is not, I think like there is a nice book, it's called How to Defend Your Faith Without Raising Your Voice, which is a very, from Catholic Voices. I mean, this is a very important book. This I would recommend to read it. It gives you some kind of help. But there is not always a kind of a role play or system on how to answer on certain questions. You have on that right, that's why I was again focusing on this prayer for wisdom, which is important. And it's also on how you say it. It's not always, it's not like winning or losing. You don't want to technically convert the other person into your opinion. You want to share and be also personal, because the person that you think maybe has an experience with abortion, that could be, or with euthanasia, it can be. So it's also not easy to judge another person and tell about how this is personally also affecting you. Be also prepared to share your own thing. But that's not only about political adversaries, but that can also be with people in daily life that you meet. So be open and ask questions and really try to understand why such a person think. Okay, you have also people who are really the activists, which is not be able to discuss in this. I mean, Jesus had them as well, Pharisees who like kind of attacking them, and it does not matter what you say because they try to trick, they try to get in a kind of way. These people, you have the same. And there you should be like just, how do you see, maybe make another question or maybe react in a different way as people expecting. I mean, but this is in the way of this discussion of different people that you have mentioned.
Thank you very much, Leo. We really appreciate you spending extra time with us, even though you got to catch a flight. And train. Yeah, it was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you very much once again. Thank you.
Okay, we are now open to questions to our other lecturers.
Thank you very much. My name is Carlos from Belgium and Mexico. I have a question for Mr. Alexander Gudarzi. Thank you very much for being here. Your story was thrilling and inspirational. So the question I want to make is about the news coverage about events like the Syrian war. The access to information. Information is vital for a healthy liberal democracy like those who are living. And it is, for example, important to know what's going on in a place like that when we don't really know due to all the chaotic situation. You gave a really nice example about the Iraq war, how mainly the United States was claiming that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. And at the end, he did not have weapons of mass destruction, but because they were saying it so much for so long and there was no alternative way to disprove that, or maybe the media that was trying to disprove that was not strong enough, we actually went into Iraq. We destroyed that country, regardless if it was justified or not due to what Saddam Hussein was doing, maybe with Kurds. There were around 500,000 civilians dead, and we had all the whole mess with ISIS as well. Well, so this is a lot. However, nowadays, I will shorten the question. Yes, nowadays we have also a lot of disruption from this alternative media. Since Trump won, in 2016, we hear a lot about fake news, and that we have to be careful with this. And there was a lot of censoring as well. So my question is what do we, the common people, can do to be able to know about what's really going on when the establishment in many Western countries are trying to censor this uncomfortable truth sometimes? Thank you.
Thank you for your question and thank you for your trust. What can be my answer for how we can believe what they say? I think that the best way is to verify by yourself. I mean, or to trust the one who are on the ground, because what we are doing, for example, we are not media, we are not making politics, but we refuse to be neutral in face of Al Qaeda, for example. We've chosen to defend the people who are suffering from the situation, and through our humanitarian actions, we are making a testimony. We call this in humanitarian job un plaidoyer, a testimony of the truth, because we have to sensibilize the people to raise funds, to raise volunteers, but we have to tell them about the situation. So of course it was a big contrast with what the main media are showing on the ground. And usually what I saw myself is that the subjects, their newspaper, their paper is already written when they're in the plane coming to a country that they ignore where is it on the map of the world. They don't even know who's Bashar al-Assad. They're asking with their colleagues, they update what they ignore. And when they come to the Middle East, they go to Lebanon, to Beirut, with sea view, to a nice apartment, like 3, 5, 4 stars. They don't even go to Syria. And they receive video from the rebels who send them some video, and this is how they make their subject. Or they take the same ways that the terrorists take, coming by Turkey, no any respect for the sovereignty of the country for which they want to make a subject. I have a friend, I've met him over there and I speak about him in the book. He was taken by the Free Syrian Army, the so-called freedom fighters. They cut head in front of him. They refused to kill him because he's Christian, and with Christian we make money. So that's why they spared him. Journalists who were coming from Turkey, from many countries of Europe, were speaking with him because he was used, because he is clever, he was speaking French, Italian, he knew many languages. He was used as a translator. Make them know that we are the revolutionary, we make the revolution for the freedom because Bashar al-Assad is a dictator. And he was telling them, to the journalists, in a way, don't show them that I am saying another thing that they are asking me to tell you. They are criminals. This is what they do. And he was giving the details. They never repeat anything in their newspaper. They didn't care about it. They just came to make a subject. The subject was done. It answered to a politic, and that's all. They didn't care that this guy will, that the truth that he was saying was not reported. They didn't care. This, after, I'm not saying that all the media, I'm not in the conspiracy. It's just what I saw, what I've seen, what the people are suffering from. There is good people, they make good journalism, but unfortunately we don't hear their voice so much. Thank you.
I had a great luck to have a chance last night to share a conversation with Alexander Gudarzi and Philip. So we had a very beautiful opportunity to experience what you have lived through while you were kidnapped. And I was especially moved by how you described the process of forgiveness. So this is what I would like to ask you to share with us.
Yeah. Yesterday you asked me about the forgiveness because my experience with Islam and the way I grew up and everything, I studied, I traveled a lot. So we have to love them, of course. And I love my Muslim brothers. Not really, I have no problem with that, but to love them in truth. And sometimes the speech we used to have because Jesus is love, and it's like a kind of, sorry to speak like this, but it's kind of, a long hair boy making kisses to everybody. It's love. But it's love, okay, but when he tells the truth, he tells the truth. He's a man. But he's okay, this is. So you have to, and this is what I appreciated yesterday. You spoke about when you don't agree with someone, you see the limit, but first you start by the common things, and after you can fix the limits. So I totally agree with that, and it's this is how we can have a concrete and deep dialogue with people who think differently than us, and in the way in my fight, in my daily life, this is with the Muslim, and because of what happened to me over there by these guys. To forgive, I have no fear for them. I told you that I think that if I see them, if I see the guys who took us, yeah, I think I would cry. I think I would cry because it was hard, and it was free. It was for free. There was no reason to do what they did. Of course, unfortunately, this is the way that the bad guys used to act. And in the same times, I know that Iraq is, as our friend for the previous question remind us, that Iraq's been destroyed now since 40 years, Iran-Iraq war, after it was the invasion of the Kuwait, and USA made them pay the price. After it was economic restriction for 13 years. And just after this, in 2003, they invaded and destroyed this country. There is no death, life. There is no meaning. The people, they don't know what does it mean. The life has no value. To put you, to shoot you a bullet in the head, it's so easy. I know that it's not just in Iraq. There is many countries that face this kind of violence. So, in fact, these guys, they were maybe the same age than me or even younger than me. Me, I am the country beside. I'm from the country beside. The men who are giving the orders to those guys, they are from my country. And I have in my family people who are in this kind of attitude from the guardian of the Islamic revolution in Iran. So, in fact, I understand them. It's not a Stockholm, syndrome that I love the man who made me suffer. But in fact, and after when they liberated us, it was like a kind of masquerade theater. And in fact, the men who were like acting like, okay, I freed you, I am the intermediary, now we will bring you to the French embassy, we could speak with the guys who took you. In fact, the guys who took you, who took us, who put us in this situation, they were behind him. But this time we could see their face, and through their eyes, I saw that they were looking to me, telling, we are sorry for what we did to you. But we are soldiers, in fact. We are to the orders. Some of them, they didn't care, and I don't know if they were directly involved in what we've lived, but some of them I recognize them because all the time we were in this jail, we were not supposed to see them, but by accident, sometimes very fast, I could see some visage, some faces. And in this room, I recognized one, and he was really looking to me like, maybe this guy is dead after, because we cannot know. And another man, the other one who was really tough, he was hiding his face, and I recognized him really concretely. And yeah, of course, I don't know really, but I have no anger. And what I know, because it's difficult for me in this language and the short testimony of faith through what I lived inside this jail. But we were praying all the time. It doesn't exist to be hostage for 2 months, or we were 4. Or there is just 2, 3 who go out because they killed one of you to put the pressure on your government. Or you stay like 2, 3 years. But it's really because of this pandemic, because of the COVID, they could not take anything from us. So we were more problems than benefits that they can have. So they saw us praying every time, fasting. They were also asking, because we told them, don't bring us food the Wednesday and the Friday. Once they broke the food the Friday. We said, we told you that we don't want to eat the Friday, but how come you know we are Friday? But every time we see the light from a little from behind the door, we could know which day we are, and they saw us praying, and they've been the first témoin, I don't know, witness. They've been, in fact, the first witnesses of our miracle, because these guys, they are always there a gun on them, and they saw that our prayers have been exhausted, that we've been listened by God, by another God in which they believe. But they saw that He listened to us if we've been stronger than them. And I'd like to believe that those guys, because they are sensitive for this kind of thing. No, the Muslim never become Muslim by speaking Quran versus Bible. It's not a kind of clash. And in fact, the Christian will not win, unfortunately, because usually the Christian is not the Bible. I speak particularly about the Catholic. I'm sorry, they don't even open the Bible. They just listen to the priest who is opening for them and making the homily. It's good, but themselves, they don't open the Bible. They don't know the word of the gospel, and they don't even know the Old Testimony. What Jesus is speaking about, what he's making parable when he's speaking, he's making an echo of what is the story of Israel. The Catholic doesn't know that. So the Muslims, they know the Quran. So anyway, they are sensitive, and when they convert to Christianity, it becomes because of dreams. Sometimes they are visited by angels, by something, and they become Christian for this. It's very strong. Or they see something appearing in front of them. It's not natural way of conversion. I mean, it's natural also, but it's not something on the reason, so I can think that really after what we lived with them every time in this situation for many weeks, many months, and suddenly we are out because something that is invisible is stronger than all the demonstration of power with all their guns and everything. It was stronger than them. And this is how we've been out. So I imagine maybe in their heart, they've been under question that how come, who's this God who freed them? I think so. And I pray, and we were praying for them, by the way, because we were blessing the food, and they brought us the food, even if sometimes they forgot us, because at the end I lost like 15 kilos when they freed me. But yeah, we were praying, and sometimes I forget, but because I'm a bad Christian as well, and I don't pray every time, but sometimes also I continue to pray and to think to them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next question. Yes.
Hi, I'm Katarina, and I really liked your example of nuns dancing on the street. And I want to know what's your advice to young people, how to find their calling, how to realize that does God want them to go on the street and dance, or does He want them to go to the margins of the world and fight and contribute in that way? And I also want to know how do you find strength to fight and speak so passionately, but yet be so peaceful? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not so peaceful. I love Saint Paul, but sometimes I'm Saul also. I'm the Saint Paul, but before the conversion, so I'm like kind of schizophrenia. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, but thank you. No, this is okay. This is my maybe this fire. Or imagine before to be converted, it was like this, but in the hunger, free hunger, and just destruction in kind of way. So this is wonderful that when I don't know how to say it well in English, but where the sins was. Abundant. When the sins were, the grace is much more. I don't know how to say this in English, but the kingdom of heaven belongs to the violent, and I believe in this violence, not to destroy. That we have Saint John, he's pure, he's nice, and we have Peter who's taking the knife and taking the ear of the soldier. Of course, it's not the way that Jesus is waiting from him, but this is the diversity of the church, and we are like an army, everyone to his function, to his... me, yes, I cannot change my nature. I'm like that. And maybe, yes, at the beginning of my conversion, I was trying to be another one. But Jesus also loves you as you are, and wants you to be the best as He can make you, not to be another person. So this, like volcano that I have, maybe, it can be used for Him. And if I can, yes, I will do. Me, I have not the same level of, danger. It's so I can, in the way I acted, I lived to live my faith and to care about the people who are in need. May I go, yes, to Baghdad. Remember, even to be in this association, I was bringing Bible in Persian and Afghanistan from Tajikistan. But I'm not telling that everybody has to do this, and if they don't do, they are not serving God. I'm not telling this. You do with I think that anyone has to know himself, to know precisely who he is and how we can use the talents that God put inside him, and to redistribute. You have not to keep it for yourself. You will have some count to give back. I mean, you will have a kind of report to give at the moment, what you did with what I gave to you. Some people, they have more, some they have less, and it's been given to you to share it to the others that didn't receive what you had. Me, in my neighborhood, in my city, in my streets, I was never seeing any Christian with the cross, because by humility, and even the priest sometimes, so short flip-flap to the claquette, I don't know how to say that, is a light clothes, like we go to the beach, but I need to see a priest. I need to see a priest when I'm in Paris, when I'm in the subway, when I'm in the jungle of the life. I need to see a priest. And you cannot imagine who's the one who will come to him. You cannot, you will imagine the pink pantalons, the trousers pink. This is the Catholic traditional from Versailles in France also, you know. But no, it will be maybe the tough guy. No, I say this with a lot of love. I like to make provocation, but you cannot know who's the guy who needs, he's thirsty, he's looking for that. You have to be a candle, not under the sun, but in the darkness. What are we waiting for? I'm not telling that you have to be in the Bible, like Protestant, but with the Bible, God wants to save you. But it's good also. But there is a moment, find with who you are, how to be coherent with your faith. Because sometimes it's easy to claim that we are Christian between Christians. The Muslims, they convert because really, one Jesus say, if you are shy from in front of the men, I will be shy from you in front of my Father. This is true. When I was speaking with one of you yesterday, and she said me, I'm working in Germany with nurse in the hospital, and Muslims, they come and they say, yeah, please, okay, I like the hospital, I want medical support, but please put the cross that is on the wall away. And she's doing it. What does that mean, in fact? You have to assume identity, you have to assume who you are, you have to love who you are, you have to love Jesus in your civilization, in your culture, never to step back. And not in relation of conflictual relation, but because the one who is in front of you, he will respect that, and you will give him a kind of opportunity to know it more about this, about what is in your heart, what is your faith, and God makes the rest. You have not to convert the people to Christianity, but you have to speak about him. You have to testify about his presence in your life. And God makes the rest. It's not in our hands, but you have to speak. This is, in fact, this is it's not one of the aim of the church. This is the main aim of the church, to evangelize, to bring the gospel. So I'm sorry, because I'm not pretending to tell you what you have to do, but we have to do so. I respect. You do already in your job and everything, but after, it's in the daily life, in the little things, but I say this also to myself. I'm not telling that. Pray for me, pray for each other.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Very nice. Other questions? Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My question goes to Ms. Colleen. Thank you first for your lecture. It was really inspiring. As a person who's part of a big family, I could recognize a lot of the things you've mentioned. However, my question is at the balance between the cooperation or the role of the government of the country and the grace, also the theological grace of the couple, of the family itself, especially with families who I know families, I think we all know families who cannot realize this 3-point you mentioned in a fully way, because of wounds in the history of wounds who are currently curing, and they are challenged day by day, and for sure the government had also the task to give support. On the other hand, we see the problem with the Jews welfare officers, at least in Germany, who do not help the couple, the family, but try to authorize the own idea of being a family, to impose the idea of the government of being a family in this family. So the first question is how to balance the cooperation between this support and the grace of the family, and in addition to that, what role could the church play? Should it be a partner of the government, a dialogue partner, a supporter for the families, a connector between both entities? How could you describe this? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this question. So of course, what you mentioned, that we see sometimes a bit of opposition with, for example, governments that implement policies on children's rights, for example, and try to circumvent the parental, not right, but responsibility to be the one that uphold their children's rights. So it's important, of course, to always remind that the right that all individual person has, including children, the first responsibles for that are the parents. And they are, that you were mentioning, supported by the state, but the state should never try to circumvent that. But as you were saying, sometimes there are some dysfunctioning within the family, so the parents are not able to do so. So maybe I think it's important to have a division between family policies and social policies, because family policies are policies that support families, parents, but families overall, to do what they are already doing, to make it easier, the same way you would try to have perfect competitivity within a market. You support companies to work the best way possible. Same thinking and argument for families. You just try to make the least obstacle in their function and what they have to do. So in that sense, the state only has a very supportive role. And then you have the social policies that can be connected to family policies, but are not the same. Social policies addresses the poverty, the social exclusion. And there, of course, maybe the state can be more proactive when there are some dysfunctionings within the family. But that's why it's very crucial to understand the difference between family policies that support family in their roles and social policies that support everyone in the difficulties, additional difficulties that you mentioned. And when it comes to the church and the role that the church can have, so the church, two elements, can work as an intermediary body within families and the state, which is that the church, for the church, the family is one of the precious thing that the church has, because we all, thanks Christianity, Jesus was 30 years within this family. So it means the importance of the family before he went to public life. So the church, in the message the church gives to our societies and to governments and anything, is as well to have a special care for families in what they are mentioning. And as well, the church, not only he's in the temporary short-term element, the church is eternal, so maybe until the apocalypse, but he will maybe continue. Anyways, I'm not a theologian, sorry. But the idea is as well for the church to be actor of the truth. And when it comes to the family, the church as well has this responsibility to be the one reminding, even when people don't want to be reminded of what are the most important elements. And that's why we see the church that is really the object of many criticism and attacks, because it simply recalls the truth over and over and over for, I don't know, more than 2 millennium. So that's why there's this rule of upholding the truth and keeping it for so many times. And for us, family, everyone, that's a support to be as well supported by that. Thank
you. Wonderful. Thank you for the great question. And thank you for the wonderful answer as well. I think we might have time for one more question. One more question.
Okay,
right.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benedicta, for your nice talk. I have one small question. It's regarding family and kids and future of schooling, actually. I'm not sure, have you encountered this topic in Europe? This is something that's more, let's say, popular in America. I believe it's starting to be more popular in Europe as well, and this is homeschooling. So kids are essential part of family. And if you're sending your kids in public school, I know from Croatian perspective, some topics are introducing and simply you cannot interfere with that. And I believe this is my personal opinion. Maybe that's not ideal or the best, just my personal opinion, but I would like to hear your opinion as well about homeschooling and Catholic perspective on that. If you have encountered with that at all. If you have been thinking about this thing, if you have exploring, any comment, just a comment, not question actually. So, thank you.
So I will not give my personal the way I think about that. I mean, I'm no one to say anything. I don't have kids, so. But I think the most important is the freedom to choose what kind of education you want to give to your children. And if you want to have them homeschooled, it's important that you have that freedom and that right. And it's part of, and it's important to be, because we see a lot of debates. For example, in Germany, I think it's forbidden to be homeschooled. And we see in France, for example, we have a lot of discussions on that as well. So it's important, and which is interesting because it's part of international law that parents are the primary educators of their children. So that's written in international law. I think it's the UN Convention on the Right of the Child article. I don't remember, but you can find it easily. So I think the most important is to have freedom from parents, and of course, when we think about education, I think one of the topics that we think directly right away is education to sexuality. That's one of the most thorny issue we can say when we speak about education, or maybe the way history is presented, elements like that. And sorry, I'm not directly answering the question of homeschooling, but in general, when it comes to education, it's really important to have a collaborative pact between schools and families, which means that families, even if you want to be homeschooled, they need to be supported. They need to have access to materials. It's difficult to do it on your own. So you need to have, in any case, you don't do it alone. It's good when you cooperate. And when in the dialogue with private or public schools, it's important to have this dialogue with schools in the idea of dialogue, but always reminding at the end of the day, that's the parents that should decide on anything. And it's very important to stand very strong on that. Even though we see many attacks on this, which is, as Leo was saying, it's a right of education. That's an international right, and you can't oppose a right with just some political agenda. But if you feel that you will be able to do homeschooling, you have the material, the time, please do so. There, I don't have any model to give. As usual, it's always examples. So, thank you.
Thank you to you both again. So we're going to conclude our wonderful 3 days. And for that, I'm going to ask Don Mikovil, may you have a last word and prayer, closing prayer.
Thank you, O Lord, for this time, for this town, for these people, for this meeting, for this joy to be together, for a great love, for every face, every heart, every eyes, every smile, every fear, every wonders, every desire. Thank you, God, because you love us. You give to us your love, your presence, your life. Bless all these people and send us to our countries, to our homes, to our families, to our working places, schools, towns, churches, to be witness of your life, love, and presence, or for life of this world that is so in need of your mercy, of your presence. God be with you, and that He bless all your ways with His love. Amen.
Thank you very much, Dominic Hovil. Very beautiful. May all the panelists please sit down, and then we're going to continue to our ending ceremony. Thank you very much. he will continue guiding us from now on, for us and our families and our friends. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey, and hopefully we will continue in the future as well. That is part of the forum. That is the heart of the forum. So we're more than happy to have you and stay in contact. So really, from me, from Josipa, and from the whole forum team, moderators, we were really, really blessed to have you, and we hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and that you found some blessings in it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Now, last but not least, I would like to ask our founder, Silvio Puljic, to come and give just a few final remarks.
Hello to everybody. Don Michoil and Philip said so many nice words, and I think really that the prayer that Don Michoil gave us is really the final and the best words, and that we can put for this last moments. So I will finish with this, and to thank you all, and hope to see you in the future on some kind of collaboration. Yeah. So thank you to all. Yeah.
Wonderful. That is the official conclusion of our Congress, and now you all will get certificates for joining us. Thank you very much. Thank you. The way it will work, we will read out your names, and you can come up and get your certificates. Thank you. All right. First, we have Anna Sobanska. Anna Sobanska. Our first, we have Kata. You're gonna have to excuse not my French, but my lack of pronunciation. Katarzina Anastasia Zatskek. Може. Видате. Please, come this way. Next, we have Maya Olzowska. Please come up. Simon Julius Szczurski. Julia Pilat. Zuzana Mislek. Kako hoćete? Kako hoćete, kako vi vidite. Barbara Dominika Zazek. Livia Stis. Piotr Czekowski. Ah, wonderful. Dominik Churovsky. Of course, Anna Maria. Benedicta Visi. Hey, thank you for coming, by the way. Polish. But I feel it. Aquile Minchinkaite. Albane Srepin. Yes. Good. Nikolina Maric. Such a. Some people like. Dominik Matkovic. Antonia Miloš. Martina Vidović. Teofil Markota. Mirko Vuković. Miro Vuković. Scusa. Fran Vlahović. Ten Sertić. Tomislav Kožulj. Ivan Matijević.
Sve nam je omogućio.
Gabriela Šunjić. Hvala. Daniel Dodig. Rafaela Mirčić. Ha? We have a few more certificates now for the team.
For the team, we have also certificates. And also, I would like to ask you kindly to wait a little bit because we will have a final photo all together. Okay. I have to say a few words about our team. There are 23 of us in the team, so it was a big team with a lot of work. We were working more than 7 months on this project, so it was not easy. And each of them give everything I would say they had to do the best for this conference. But they are not all with us today, but you will see who is our team and who did this good job. First, I would like to thank Dragica. Dragica, please come.
One more quick announcement about Mass. Mass, where we had Mass yesterday at 12:30.